Welcome to our project called Privacy Pathshala, the DPDP School Challenge. This is a 15-minute print and play board game designed to teach the DPDP Act of 2023 specifically for the educational sector. Players take the role of an educational institute like a school, college, or coaching center or a tech platform, and they make real world data handling decisions. The goal is not to memorize the act, the goal is to develop an instinct or intuition for privacy. When to collect data, when not to collect it, when consent is needed, how children's data should be handled, what happens during breaches, and why compliance systems matter in the long run. The game uses a 30, 30 tile board with decision, event, shield, bonus rolls, risk, and inquiry tiles. The three main tracks are growth, compliance, and risk. Growth represents institutional benefit, compliance represents DPDP safe behavior, risk represents breach, audit, or penalty exposure. Now it is up to the player as to what they choose to maximize, and our score matrix reflects the same. Legal compliance training is usually text heavy and easy to forget. So instead of making people read the DPDP Act passively, we converted the law into a game. In the education sector, institutes collect photos, marks, attendance, biometrics, etc., and other edtech related activities. Many of these children are users, as is obvious, so the risks are significantly higher. Through this game, players experience the consequences of their data choices. For example, if they share student photos without consent, they gain fast growth, yes, but they also increase their risk. If they invest in systems like consent or encryption, they might hinder their growth currently. However, in the future, it helps them to against breaches and other audit risks. Now to show you the game artifacts themselves. This is the printable version. All the pages on in this screen are A4 size and can be printed with the instructions given right on top. This is the actual board itself. As you can see, there is a start and a finish with 30 tiles exactly, with decision, bonus, risk, and shield cards, and event cards as well, and one single inquiry or audit check. The bonus roll is simply when a player lands on it and they get to roll a dice extra, and beforehand they have to choose whether they want to add to their growth or compliance or reduce their risk. This is dependent on their current scores and how they wish to optimize it. The inquiry or the audit check is where everyone reveals compliance and risk. The lowest compliance gets a +4 risk, and the highest compliance gets a +2 compliance. For termination, either one player has to reach finish or the game has to run to 15 minutes. Either way, the game ends. And then after which the scores are actually calculated and the winner is decided. This is the back of our cards. This is to ensure that there is an educational leaning towards our game itself, and to keep the cards neutral to ensure that no one can read the cards from the back itself. Coming to the actual decision cards. Each card has two parts, as you can see. First, there is a relatable hook. This is not a decision. This is just to help the person understand the situation in everyday language. For example, the first card says you post someone's photo online because it looks nice. Now the school decision comes into play. Your school wants to post student photos and ranks on Instagram. Then each player has to choose between option A and option B. In this case, option A is post names, faces, and ranks quickly, given a +6 growth and -8 risk. However, the other option, which gives you a +3 growth with a +4 compliance and a -2 risk. So the player has to decide as to what he wants to do at that particular point to optimize their grade or optimize their points. As you can see, there are multiple decision cards which all of which has different scenarios in play with multiple different decisions that can be taken for each of them. Now starting with event cards. Events represent something that happened to the institution unexpectedly. For example, the first one is a parent complaint. And others can be data breach, vendor leaks, regulatory audit, and several more. Some event cards can be protected by shield cards, as we will see later. But and also, unlike decision cards, these are not option. These are not choices. They happen immediately, and the player must apply the consequences unless they have the relevant shield card. At the bottom right of the event card, we show the matching shield emoji. If the player has that shield card, they may use it to reduce or cancel damage. If the event card shows a stop sign, there is no shield that can block it, as you can see here. This event has happened when the institution was not prepared, so we apply the full consequence. Then you update the score based on the information given on the event card itself. Now we to understand event cards, we must also go through shield cards. Here you can see consent log, inscription, and access controls. Shields are not random powers; they represent compliance systems. For example, the consent log, the access control, etc., show a response to a situation that might arise. A player gets a shield card by landing on a shield tile. They keep it with them, and each player can hold a maximum of three shield cards. And the shield can only be used once. Once it is used, it goes into a discard pile and cannot be used again. When a player draws a shield card, this means that the institution has invested in the player as the institution that the player represents has invested in compliance safeguard. It does not give you immediate growth. However, it protects you in the future from a higher risk score. The shield card represent the idea that good governance reduces future risk. This is the score sheet. Here, players can track their growth, compliance, and risk checks, compliance penalty, and their final score at the end. At the end, we do two checks. First is the risk check. The player rolls the dice and multiplies it by 10. If their risk is higher than that number, their growth is reduced to 80%. This shows that high risk growth is fragile and can always crumble down. Second is the compliance penalty. Minimum compliance is 18. If players' compliance is below 18, they get a penalty. And the penalty is calculated with the formula as visible here. Here are some of the quick rules that will help players while playing the game itself. Now I'll move from the printable version to the simulator. The simulator is not a different game. It is a way to digitally test and demonstrate the same game logic. It simulates two to six teams, a 15-minute timer, and dice movements, just as the actual game itself. We simulated it because before printing and playing physically, we wanted to ensure that the rules themselves work, the scoring makes sense, and the cards itself are balanced and create enough tension within the game, and whether players can truly understand the flow. When the simulator opens, as you can see, you can ask for a number of teams here. Here I'm using two for sake of demonstration. It also asks for a timer. For the sake of this demonstration, I will put it to 10 minutes. And now, once the game starts, we can actually see the entire board and the game log and the scoring itself. So if I start rolling the first dice here for player one, I landed a bonus roll. So now I can choose which of the options I want to actually increase or in the case of risk, reduce. Let's say I want to increase my compliance. I rolled a 6, so I got a +6 compliance score, as you can see here. Now it's time, as you can see, it updated here as well. Now to roll for player 2. Team 2 actually landed on a +4 risk, so their risk increases by 4. Yeah, and now it is back to team 1. I landed on a decision card itself, so I have two options. So I forwarded someone's private result in a group, and the school's decision was the teacher shares the student's mark sheet in the parent group. So if now I have two options: to share in my group, sharing group, or send privately to the parent. I choose option B, which with a +1 growth, +4 compliance, and -2 risk. Now I'm back to player 2. I actually landed on an event, and given that I haven't landed on a shield card yet, I cannot counteract this. The regulator checks how the institution handles personal data. The effect is it reveals risk. The highest risk gets a +5, highest compliance gets a +3. This is drawn by the player itself who lands on the event. It affects all players, and then you can discard it. Yeah. So now team 1 has landed on a +4 risk. Now back to team 2. A shield card was drawn. So now this will just stay with the player with the player or player itself. Yeah. Now another decision card here, and in this case, I will choose option A for a higher growth along with higher risk. Yeah. So now the player actually landed on the inquiry and audit check. As you can see, team 2 got a +4 risk because it had a lower compliance, and team 1 got a +2 compliance because it has the highest compliance score. In a game with more teams and players, it would not simply be the highest and lowest. There would be more variation in this case. This is just for example. Yeah. And as the game goes on, your score will be calculated, and your all your logs will be shown in the simulator right here. And eventually, either the timer here will run out, or one player will reach finish. Thank you.